everyone, welcome back to the channel where we love talking about movies and more. I'm your host, Mason Phillips, and this is the second episode of my Talking Movies and More podcast. This podcast is meant to be filmed when Hayden and I can't get together for the assembly cut. He's a really busy guy. Sometimes it's really hard to get our schedules on the same page. So when he's not available to film, I just like to get here and talk one-on-one with me and you. And this is a better way, I think, to do the types of videos that I used to do on the channel. Sometimes I'll still do movie reviews. I've started to do film analysis. I did one recently on Casino Royale. You can see that on the channel right now. Hope you enjoy that if you haven't seen it already. And you go check that out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But before we get any further in this video, I want to ask you guys to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live to this channel. When you do that, it always helps me out. I greatly appreciate it. So there was an interesting topic that Hayden and I talked about in our first episode of the assembly cut. Also go check that out if you haven't seen it already. Just a little shameless plug there. But if you remember, I put out a segment. There's a clip I actually made. It's a separate clip, so you can either watch the full podcast. Would love if you did that, but we also have many clips from that first episode that we put on the channel as well. And one of the things that we talked about was the missing films of the Multiverse saga. And this is something that's kind of driven me crazy because there's so many movies that I think should have filled out the Multiverse saga to make that a more cohesive saga, to really build up the hype and anticipation for what we're getting to Avengers Doomsday. Now, I'm really excited for Avengers Doomsday, and I think within the last couple of years, especially last year, Marvel really pivoted and started to make some key corrections to improve the quality of the projects that they were releasing. I think Daredevil Born Again, Season 1 was pretty good. Season 2 was really great. And movies like Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, First Steps, these films really helped to improve upon the quality that was really lacking in Phases 4 and Phase 5. Wasn't a big fan of Captain America Brave New World, but a lot of these recent projects, such as Wonder Man that came out this year from Destin Daniel Cretton, who's directing Spider-Man Brand New Day that we're supposed to be getting next month. Really excited for that film. And that excitement comes because of the quality of these projects that they've been doing lately. They're finally back. I think Marvel finally is back on track with putting out quality over quantity. It's a mistake that I think is really kind of biting them right now going into Doomsday. I think Doomsday is going to be really good. I trust the Russo brothers. I trust Kevin Feige. I trust that team behind this, bringing back Chris Evans, really essentially making Doomsday a direct sequel to Avengers Endgame, I think is a really good idea, especially when you haven't had a proper build-up with this series, with the Multiverse saga, within Phases 4 and 5. So we got a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine. We should have gotten many more movies like that where it continued off of a franchise that wasn't specifically started in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Deadpool and Wolverine is a sequel to Deadpool 2 and follows up on elements that were established in Logan. The only thing true MCU that it followed up on was the Loki series. And of course, that's Disney Plus, that's MCU. But we didn't have other projects like that. We have other projects like Fantastic Four First Steps that are specifically set in another universe. So now we're finally touching upon the other aspects of the multiverse. Yes, we had Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We didn't spend a lot of time on Earth 838. And that was a movie where I really was hoping that the title Multiverse of Madness would have taken us across the multiverse, not just a few little pockets, but other parts of the multiverse that we were already familiar with. We're bringing back characters in Doomsday like the X-Men. And in the past, we brought back characters, legacy characters, like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Again, in Deadpool and Wolverine, we brought back a version of Logan played again by Hugh Jackman. I think we needed more of that leading up to Doomsday. So what do I mean when I say that we've had some missing films? Well, for starters, for the key aspects, the key characters of the X-Men, the original cast that was in that 2000s run, those first early films, those X-Men films, we have James Marsden coming back as Cyclops, Patrick Stewart once again coming back as Professor X. We saw a version of him in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, died again for about the 5th time, I think, and well, sadly, I think we'll die again for like the 6th time. We need to leave this poor guy alone. But again, we brought him back. Ian McKellen is coming back as Magneto. Kelsey Grammer already came back as Beast in the Marvels, will be coming back again in this film. A surprise for me, Alan Cumming coming back as Nightcrawler when he only did one appearance in X2. We have Rebecca Romijn coming back as Mystique. So we have these key characters, these key actors coming back in these classic roles, but I would have loved to have seen what have they been up to. I don't want to be catching up with them in this movie, in Doomsday. I would have loved to have had a proper, solid X-Men sequel with that original cast cast at least one movie. I would have loved to have gotten one or two, or maybe a whole new trilogy. That might be too much to ask for, but I would at least have loved one classic X-Men movie before we got to Doomsday with that original cast. And in this movie, setting up where they are, explaining what they've been up to since we last saw them, and then leading into the Multiverse Saga, everything that's happening in Doomsday. I would love to have seen elements of that. What could that story have been? And that's another thing that I would have loved from other characters. So yes, I would have loved a proper X-Men sequel. We did get a Deadpool sequel, and we introduced a new Wolverine, but there's a lot of these hanging threads. What was up with the prequel cast of the X-Men? Maybe we could have gotten one movie with the original cast and another movie with the younger cast with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and these other X-Men that were established in the prequel series of the X-Men. Would have loved that as well. Another Fantastic Four with that original cast. Hey, Chris Evans came back as Johnny Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine, so why not get that whole original cast of the Fantastic Four together? It could have been seen as a competing IP with the new Fantastic Four they're trying to set up. So maybe that wouldn't have been the greatest idea, but you didn't have an X-Men film lined up just yet, so let's get that original cast in. That would have been pretty cool. Spider-Man, maybe it would have been a little too much to have all these other Spider-Man movies happening, but after No Way Home, I thought that the proper thing, the best thing to do following up on No Way Home, was to have a proper Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire. Let's let Sam Raimi and that team finally make that movie. Or an Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield, bringing back Mark Webb and that original team, specifically the team surrounding the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, and going in that direction. Maybe adapting some stuff that they were planning with the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Not everything, because I know some stuff about that script, and yeah, they would need to tweak some stuff. But elements that they established hinting towards where these characters have been when they appeared in No Way Home, and then following up on them. What was that like for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man when he was fueled with that rage after the death of Gwen Stacy, and after he was able to kind of redeem himself in that, or is the way he sees himself when he saved Zendaya's MJ in No Way Home? What does that do for him? What's that like for this character? And then Hayden had a really cool idea. If you go back to one of the clips that we put out when we did the podcast, he discussed in regards to the Sony Marvel universe, although those films, Morbius, the Venom trilogy, Madam Web, maybe they wouldn't have been the greatest. Maybe they weren't the greatest, weren't very well received, and they certainly weren't, and the quality of those films, for the most part, was pretty terrible. You can redeem aspects of these characters. Maybe we can inject some new life into these characters and actually make them matter going forward. And when we have the spell at the end of No Way Home, when characters are pulled back into their universe, maybe the spell did kind of go awry. I kind of alluded to that with Morbius. Now, I know that film and the decision to include Vulture in that film really doesn't make sense at the end of the day, especially for the rules of the spell that were established in No Way Home. But following up on that, so this spell, it pulled a character from one universe into the next, and what are the ramifications of that? Can we follow up on that and actually make a film like Morbius matter to the larger scale of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to kind of correct some of those mistakes? Maybe that is done, say, in The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Maybe that's where that Vulture is. Maybe that is where Morbius is. And where did the Vulture even get this suit? Maybe it was the suit that was set up in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for the Vulture that they were trying to establish in that universe. So these movies would have been fantastic to fill out the Multiverse Saga, especially since we're building up towards stuff like Secret Wars, where we're going to be really pulling from all aspects of the Marvel Multiverse, all these films that were established pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe. Another adventure with the Punisher, with Thomas Jane's Punisher, would have been fantastic. Unfortunately, we can't do that with Ray Stevenson's Punisher. He has sadly passed away. But Thomas Jane's Punisher, what's he been up to? Can we incorporate him in here somewhere? Can there be some kind of odd adventure between him and John Berthal? Maybe they have to do their own version of No Way Home. Like I said, adventure with that original Fantastic Four. And maybe it doesn't have to be a film, but you can do, this is where the Disney Plus series really could have taken a different and maybe better direction, is this is where you could have really established your larger aspects of the Multiverse Saga. And there could have been a smart way to go about it. A Ghost Rider project. Hayden and I talked about this as well in our podcast. Maybe you could take a Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, a hard R-rated film with his Ghost Rider, with Johnny Blaze, or even incorporated Gabriel Luna's Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They almost gave him his own show. Maybe we could have given him some kind of like Marvel special presentation, like they just did with The Punisher. Obviously, they are not shy of doing a hard R property like The Punisher in the special presentation format. Maybe we could have done that with Ghost Rider, or done a proper film for Ghost Rider. Another maybe adventure with Ben Affleck's Daredevil. That's probably too much to ask, but we did bring back Elektra, Jennifer Garner's Elektra, to come back in Deadpool and Wolverine. Another adventure with Wesley Snipes' Blade. Just to fill out this multiverse, I think would have been so helpful and so key to building up to Doomsday, or at the time the Kang Dynasty, but specifically now Doomsday and Secret Wars. What would that have been like? And other projects that we didn't get, so I'm kind of veering off from the projects established from those previous characters, like the classic X-Men, Spider-Man. A Hulk movie with Eric Bana probably would never happen, but another one anyway probably would never happen, but I would have loved to have seen that. And I have said in the past, in our podcast that we did in the Assembly Cut, I did say I would love to see Eric Bana come back as the Maestro Hulk in Secret Wars. I just think it would be cool. Yeah, it would be very fan servicey. I have no idea what his place in the film could be. It's probably just one scene, but it could be a fun scene. But that aside, other films, now we're going to the established characters, like a Doctor Strange. Where's Doctor Strange 3? I want to know, what has Clea and Doctor Strange been up to since the end of Multiverse of Madness? Now I'm going into talking about all these characters that aren't reported to come back in Doomsday, but there's so many of these hanging threads left over. When this is the biggest problem from phases 4 and 5, it's the momentum. And that's what I've been talking about in my MCU Restructured series, the Fixing Phase 1 video that I put out on the channel. I'll be doing a Phase 2 and a Phase 3 video, and a Phase 4 and 5 as well. But you kill the momentum by either not having one project bleed into the next, lead into the next, or you're not giving sequels to characters that you've established and then you kind of forget about. Thankfully, we are getting Shang-Chi back in Doomsday, but he should have had a second film already. We should have already had a Doctor Strange 3 after Multiverse of Madness. We should have already had another adventure with Thor before we got to Doomsday. We should have had another Avengers movie establishing Sam Wilson's Avengers team before we get to Doomsday. We're having to do all this legwork. Doomsday's going to have to do all this legwork to establish all of these characters and all of these other things. And again, I have trust in the Russo brothers. I think they're going to be able to do it. But I would have loved to have had this eager anticipation as we build from project to project. What would that have been like if we got another Captain America, or a better Captain America Brave New World, but a follow-up to that with Sam Wilson's established Avengers team? It doesn't have to be maybe an Avengers movie, but just maybe another Captain America movie. We did it in Civil War, so we could do it again in another Captain America movie and establish this team of Avengers. Who are the Avengers? Again, we're still asking ourselves that question. Who are the new Avengers? We know who the new Avengers with a Z are after the end of Thunderbolts, but we don't really know who Sam Wilson's team is. We know that Joaquin Torres is on there. Shang-Chi's probably on that team as well, but we don't really know who else is there. Is Captain Marvel on this team? Is Spider-Man on this team? We don't know. We don't know anything about this new team of Avengers. Is Thor on this team, or is Thor by himself? What's up with the Guardians of the Galaxy after Volume 3, or that new team that was established with Rocket Raccoon's team? What is going on with all of these characters? Another follow-up to Moon Knight. We established a character like Moon Knight in Moon Knight Season 1. What's Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight up to? Are we ever going to see him again? She-Hulk, as much as I don't love that show, I'd still love to know what's up with Jennifer Walters. Are we ever going to see her again? Is she going to be in Doomsday or Secret Wars? Or are we just never going to talk about her, or the fact that that show ever existed? What's going on with all these characters? That's the problem going into Doomsday. We don't know what's going on with all of these characters. With the larger multiverse, sure, but then with the characters just on Earth 616 or Earth 1999999 or whatever that's called. What's going on in the MCU? The Eternals, a property that was established, and we're just not going to talk about the fact that these celestial beings existed. Thankfully, they did finally talk about Celestial Island, and what else is going on? The Eternals were taken away by Arishem the Judge at the end of the Eternals. Are we going to follow up on that plot point? What is going on with these characters? And that's what I really need answered going into Doomsday. And I don't want Doomsday to be the movie that has to answer all of these questions. I want other properties to have answered that already. Build the momentum. This year we're getting 2 movies. We're getting Spider-Man Brand New Day, and we're getting Doomsday. We should have at least been getting one extra film this year, and another film, at least 1 or 2, before we get to Secret Wars, set between Doomsday, the release at least of Doomsday Doomsday and Secret Wars. There should be one other movie coming out this year, besides the two we're already getting, and 2 movies next year besides the one that we're already getting. But because of the missteps that Phase 4 and Phase 5 had, we've kind of handicapped ourselves on the momentum building going into these last 2 Avengers movies, the cappers of the Multiverse saga, when I've loved certain projects on their own, but the Multiverse saga as it stands all together, I don't know what that is altogether, and I still have this issue. I have loved recent projects. I have loved Thunderbolts. I've loved Fantastic Four. Daredevil Born Again has been great. Wonder Man was great. I'm really excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And yes, I am excited for Doomsday, but not in the way that I was for Infinity War, not in the way that I was for Avengers Endgame. I don't feel like we're properly paying off 10-year span like it was for the Infinity Saga. With the Infinity Saga, we were truly paying off every little morsel that was established, at least in the films, was established from Iron Man to Endgame. And I don't feel like we're doing that from WandaVision to Secret Wars. It doesn't really feel like we're paying that off. And that's another character, Wanda. What's going on with her? Did she actually die at the end of Multiverse of Madness? Or are we expected to see her return maybe in the Vision Quest series coming out this year that I am excited for, but it's another one of these loose threads. There's no proper thread that has been established throughout the Multiverse saga. It's been very scattered. And that's been my major frustration with this. And again, going back to that series that I'm doing, is what I'm hoping to fix. Just by repositioning certain projects, can you fix the momentum issue by moving one project over here and another project over here, one post-credit scene from this movie to this show, or from this show to this movie? Can that possibly fix the momentum issue? And the momentum issue, at the end of the day, comes down to the fact that we didn't have the proper projects ready to go. When you're doing a Multiverse saga, you should be doing an X-Men movie with that original cast. You should be doing a Spider-Man 4 and an Amazing Spider-Man 3 after No Way Home. You should be doing another Doctor Strange movie when he seems to be a pivotal aspect to the Multiverse saga, a character that does deal specifically with the multiverse. Something to at least answer what happened with the Eternals. Do they even matter to the Multiverse saga, or were they just this one-off thing that doesn't even have any impact to the larger aspects of the MCU? And then all these Disney Plus shows that may matter, do they matter? We really don't know. Again, that's just been a huge issue with how this whole thing has been put together. So I would love to go more in depth in the future, maybe make a specific video on what I would love to have seen from a Spider-Man 4 or an Amazing Spider-Man 3 or an X-Men movie from that original cast leading up to Doomsday. But this has been my just very bare bones thoughts on what I kind of been thinking over the last couple of weeks, what I was thinking throughout the day of what I would love to have seen, because if these projects had come out, could that have helped the momentum? Could we have pushed some excitement, injected some excitement into the Multiverse saga, even in spite of the changes they had to make by diverting away from Kang? And I think that did really impact a lot of the momentum, because you established Kang in Loki. You went ahead and included a version of him in Quantum Mania. And I think from rumors I heard, there's supposed to be a version of him included in Agatha all along. And I'm sure these other projects, probably the Fantastic Four, originally had a version of Kang, I assume, since he is a descendant of Reed Richards. All of that aside, could these other projects fix the momentum issue? Could it have injected some excitement into the Multiverse saga? Maybe it could have. All that to say, I am still excited for Doomsday. I just wish that these other things had happened in a more streamlined, cohesive way, the way that the Infinity Saga felt. The Infinity Saga had its moments, but for the most part, for the majority of its runtime, it felt cohesive and it felt like we were building to something bigger. And Doomsday just kind of feels like Doomsday's just happening. Is it going to be a good movie? I'm sure it will be. I'm excited for this film, but it does just feel like it's happening. It doesn't really feel like we've had a true build-up to this project. And so there's been no build-up of excitement or momentum like there was to Infinity War and Endgame. So I'll stop repeating myself here, but those have been my thoughts and what I would have loved to have seen from the Multiverse saga. And I'll go deeper into this probably in my future videos of my MCU restructuring series. Now I wanted to move into some DC stuff. We've had some really cool stuff coming from Man of Tomorrow, and we recently got the final trailer for the new movie Supergirl that's coming out very soon, just within the next couple of weeks. We're going to be getting the second film in James Gunn's DC universe. Before we go any further, I'm actually going to check out the trailer for Supergirl. I'm not going to do a reaction here because sometimes doing a reaction on this channel, I have some copyright issues that I've had in the past that I don't want to repeat again. So rather than just do a reaction video, I'm going to watch it and then I'm going to come back and we're going to do a post-reaction discussion. All right, so I did just watch the final trailer for Supergirl coming out just very soon, within the next couple of weeks. That's so crazy because it's movies like this that always feel, especially when that initial announcement from James Gunn came in 2023, that first video, I just felt like these projects were so far away, and now we're right in the middle of this first chapter, of chapter 1 of Gods and Monsters. We got Superman last year and some other projects, Peacemaker Season 2 and Creature Commando Season 1. We're getting Supergirl, we got Lantern Season 1 on the way, we got Clayface coming. Next year we got Man of Tomorrow, so the DC Universe is in full motion, and I'm so excited for everything that they're bringing towards us. And I will admit, I haven't really been super excited for Supergirl. The first 2 trailers didn't really do it for me. The first trailer was okay, the second trailer was a little better, but I still had faith in the future of the DC Universe, or at least hope, and I really enjoyed the first Superman movie, so I was hopeful of what we could get with Supergirl. And I did like, again, I talked about that momentum issue with the MCU. With DC, we haven't had that just yet, because we had Superman, we had a cameo from Supergirl, now she's got a movie, Superman's going to be in this movie, so picking up from the last movie, so we're not wondering when are we going to see those characters again. We're already going to see Superman again, and he's got a movie next year. Supergirl's also going to be in that movie next year. So these characters are continuously being established, they're continuously being revisited, diving deeper into these characters. It's got me excited in this trailer. This trailer was fun. I actually had fun with this trailer. I didn't really have a lot of fun with those first 2 movies. I was still going to go see this movie, but now I actually want to go see this movie. I heard that earlier from Robert Meyer Burnett on the John Campea show. He wasn't excited. He didn't want to see it. He was going to see it, but he didn't want to see it. Now he wants to see it. And that's where I am with this trailer. Now I want to see it, and it really injected life, excitement into this project, and man, I hate what they're going to do to Crypto. I think Crypto's going to live. I don't think they're going to kill off Crypto the Superdog. I hate it when you see animals or kids or babies or anybody, like an innocent being, hurt like this. It's not a part that I'm looking forward to in this movie, but everything around it, the action, seeing her fly around in the Supergirl suit, I don't think we're going to see much of her in that suit. Probably going to be more towards the end of the film, probably when Clark shows up, hands her the suit. I don't know if that'll be a part of the beginning of the movie or part of the end of the movie. I don't expect to see her in the Supergirl suit much of the film. That aside, I think the action's going to be great. I like the dialogue so far. It's quippy, it's quick, it's entertaining, so it's got my attention. Lobo, Jason Momoa, again, coming back in the DC Universe, but not as Aquaman, now as Lobo. His energy for Lobo, it matches so much better than his energy for an Aquaman. Now, his version of Aquaman, sure, it matched that, but the classic Aquaman doesn't quite fit. But for Lobo, they're so similar in attitude and how they act, and so he was perfect casting as what we were hoping he would be cast as in the DCEU, but now thankfully we've got a chance to see him properly in this role for the first time. I'm excited for this movie, actually. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. In just a couple weeks, we'll be able to see Supergirl on the big screen, see what this next chapter of the DC Universe is like. So I'm looking forward to it finally. I'm excited. I'd love to know your thoughts, so go down in the comments section. Let me know what you thought of the Supergirl trailer. Are you excited for this film? Have you been excited for it all along? I'd love to hear from you. Final topic to talk about. It's going to be a shorter video, but I wanted to talk about Man of Tomorrow. We got the reveal of Lex Luthor's battle suit in Man of Tomorrow. They're filming right now in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm so excited for this. As far as just again, building upon everything that's been established in the DC Universe, I've talked about that in the last episode, or the first episode of Talking Movies and More. In the first episode, I talked about my excitement for a lived-in DC Universe, and now we have all these characters popping in that have been established in other properties. Aaron Pierce, Green Lantern, Jon Stewart is being established in Lanterns this year. Supergirl's coming back. Superman is coming back. All these things that were built up in the Superman movie are coming back. Aside from that, the world that they live in has a rich history to it that existed prior to the Superman movie. So I kind of went on a weird tangent there, but that's one thing about this whole DC Universe that I am excited for. But recently, we've had some video of the battle suit, the Lex Luthor's battle suit. I've always thought we were close to that, and I thought we were really close to that in BVS, and I thought it was a huge missed opportunity. In Batman vs. Superman, how do you not have the establishment of the Kryptonians from Man of Steel? All the rubble, all the wreckage. You don't find one of their old suits and have Lex Luthor put that on and make that a version of his battle suit in Batman vs. Superman, and then have him be the threat. Instead of Doomsday at the end of the movie, have Lex Luthor be the threat and put on that suit and fight Batman and Superman. One of the many tweaks I would have made to that movie. I like that movie more than most, but it does have its clear flaws, and that's one of them. It was right there. It was right in front of you. You were so close, and you didn't do it. And that was this thing that was being theorized before that movie came out. I remember hearing a lot of talk about that. Will Lex Luthor create this battle suit from the wreckage of the Kryptonian battle in Man of Steel? And no, he never did that. But thankfully, we're finally seeing it, and this is the version of the suit I always wanted to see. It's the classic suit. It's that pure green. It's perfect. And we've seen video of it, and it's moving on set. Nicholas Hoult is actually walking in this suit. It's not all CGI like most of the Iron Man suits are in the Iron Man films. It's a pure practical suit, and it moves. It doesn't look too clunky. Actually, it looks like he's able to move around in it pretty well. That just shows the advancement of technology, where we've come since that first Iron Man movie. The first Iron Man movie, that suit was pretty clunky for Robert Downey Jr. It kind of made him not want to ever do that again. But now, the technology is kind of advanced enough that we can have a suit like that that's not so uncomfortable for these actors. Is it the most comfortable thing to wear? Probably not, but it's more comfortable than it used to be. The fact that it's practical, it's going to look really good. They'll be able to augment this with CGI. It's going to look cool. I'm really invested in what they're doing here with this movie. It's not been called a true sequel to Superman, but it feels like it. I mean, we have Superman back. We have Lex Luthor back. Supergirl's going to be in this. The Justice Gang's probably coming back. We have all these elements that are going to be in this movie, carried on from the previous film and other stuff they've established throughout the DC universe so far. I'm looking forward to this. We got another look at David Cornsweet's Superman suit. He's been filming on location. It looks a little better. Still not my favorite Superman suit. I wish they'd lose the collar. I'm not a fan of the collar. I am a fan of the brighter colors. I am a fan of the Superman trunks, that Superman underoos. I'm all for that. But I'm not a fan of this collar and the bulkier suit. It looked a little baggy on David Cornsweet in the first movie. It doesn't look as baggy in this movie. I think they have addressed that and they've kind of tweaked that and fixed that. It's still not quite where I want the Superman suit, but it's closer. That aside, it's just cool that they're making this movie. I'm excited that momentum is carried on. We're having a true follow-up to Superman, hopefully diving deeper into where the DC universe is going, moving on from here. Yes, it's important to focus on each project independently as they come, but I'm really curious to see what's the broader scope of this Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Why does this have to be a chapter? If it's a chapter, there's got to be a beginning, middle, and end. There's an ultimate conclusion that James Gunn is building to. In the past, he's alluded to maybe building up the Justice League. But what does that look like? What does the broader DC universe look like? And I'm excited for what Man of Tomorrow can bring in that instance, in that aspect. Will movies like Supergirl answer some of these questions? Will Lanterns answer some of these questions? I'm really curious. I think Man of Tomorrow is going to be the one to really point to and look to. It's going to feel like a mini crossover. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for what the DC universe has for us. But those have been my quick thoughts. Again, this podcast is not going to be very long today. It'll be maybe clocking in around 30 minutes or so. Maybe not even that. It'll be pretty short. But I just had some quick thoughts that I wanted to run by all of you guys. This has kind of been what's been on my mind right now and what I wanted to talk about. So if you like this kind of content, great. Go down in the comment section. Let me know. If you don't, bring on the critiques. Bring on the advice, the opinions. Like, where would you like to see this podcast go? What are some things you want to see me talk about in the future? Some things that I haven't touched upon that you want me to touch upon, or some things that I have touched upon that you're not really a big fan of. I'd love to hear from you. Go down in the comment section. Let's have that discussion, a respectful discussion, but let's have that discussion. Let's open up the conversation. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when new videos go live to this channel. When you do that, it always helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. Again, hope you enjoyed this podcast. Always be on the lookout for the assembly cut whenever Hayden and I can get around to doing that again. Once we've recorded another episode of that, I'll let you know, and I'll let you know when I'm working on that, and when we'll be putting that on the channel as well. In the meantime, I hope you're enjoying these Talking Movies and More podcasts, these episodes where it's just one-on-one, me and you having this conversation. Love these kind of conversations, these one-on-one moments that we can have talking movies, our love for movies and TV and entertainment, and whatever I've got on my mind today. Also, some housekeeping. Be sure to go check out my new channel, MP Games and More. There's only one video on the channel right now, but I'm hoping to grow that channel and make it even bigger and better in the future. I recently talked about the 10-year anniversary of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. I'm a gamer at heart too. I love movies, but I also love playing video games, and so that channel is my outlet, my place to talk about my love of games and more. So please go over there and subscribe to that channel, and go follow me over there on MP Games and More. I'd love to see your support. I'd love to have your support. Thank you so much for supporting this channel as well. Hope you all have an awesome and a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.